4 boulders, the 24,000. But depending on how many boulders we do, that's how much it costs.
And we can't get Public Works to give us a front-end loader for a day?
Be more than happy to let the DPW do that work.
No, I mean, I don't have the authority to say that, nor do we, to say that they should do that. But I'm just wondering if we should ask the mayor whether we can save some of this money by having DPW help out with moving the boulders. It's a large number.
Mm-hmm.
And if all you had to do was set them in place, I would assume it would be much cheaper, right?
I mean, it's still a matter of getting an excavator over there and digging it out, so it's just not.
Most of the cost is in working the landscaping around the boulders rather than just being straight landscaping that it was. So there are shrubs and other things that are located there, that are added and located there, that are also part of the cost.
Oh, okay, so it's not just
Dropping a boulder on the
it's
ground.
not that, like that old commercial, I pick things up and I put them
No,
down?
no.
So we're talking about landscaping as well?
Yes.
And do we have a sketch or a drawing of this?
I believe we located them on a sketch. There was a sketch originally we did, and the boulder count was much lower than what we had put on the sketch. There was only like 6, I think, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thought was that we'd get the change order for the 6 and then get a unit price to do them, and if we didn't have enough boulders that were unearthed on the site, that we would then buy the boulders through the landscaping company and then put them in place. This is all because we were asked to provide some kind of obstruction to people hopping the curb and going over the grass or parking on the grass to prevent that on.
What size are these boulders?
They're like 3 by 3 by 3.
Yeah, the
Is
little,
it something that front end loader could pick up?
Yeah.
yeah, they can't be bigger than 3 cubic yards.
I'll ask Mike Tyler if they can do it. He's got a front end loader and they got a small little track excavator that can scoop it up and plop them in there.
If it would help.
It's a matter of whether he's available or not.
Yeah, if it would help with the cost, I mean, to be sensitive to the cost of the project, so.
Yeah. I'll talk to him tomorrow, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Have you got a signal yet, Alan?
I don't have access to share on the Zoom, so.
You don't have access?
Yeah, it's through the AACS, so I don't have permission to share my screen.
Well, AACS is sitting right back there, so.
Send Ally an invitation to join on Zoom?
I can.
She just needs permission to share her screen.
Is she in the Zoom?
She has my invite. I just forwarded her my invite.
I mean, she should be able to.
While she's doing that, any other new ones you need to tell us about?
So that is it for new GCRs. We do have
Okay.
one new GCT,
All right.
GCT 082. This is for additional scope and costs associated with the irrigation wells. So it's kind of an incomplete scope right now, but we had to, both wells had to be drilled an additional 100 feet. So there's costs associated with that. We are also have some projected costs in there associated with the lower than desired yield that we're currently getting. So the minimum yield we were intended to get was 50 gallons per minute. We're at 31 gallons per minute coming out of the 2 wells. So we have some estimated cost in there for, potential additional scope required to help increase those, the yields.
That's additional scope. I talked to Jeff Bowman, and he doesn't seem to be concerned about the 30,
Okay,
31.
perfect. Yeah, that's, if there's nothing required, all we would have is, I think it's about 25,000 for the an additional 100 feet.
Okay,
Per well.
there should be a credit for fracking.
So we don't have to do any, because we're doing fracking at one well, but credit for the other well.
Right.
Good.
So as I understand it, we went down 850 feet?
That's
Yeah.
correct, yep. There was a clause in the spec that said, like, if you don't get the yield required, go down an extra 100 feet. which is what we did, but when we bought out our landscape subcontractor, 4 years ago, we only carried the 750 feet in their contract.
Yeah.
So we had to pay them to do the extra
The
100
spec
feet.
was written such that it had to have permission from, the architect and the OPM to be able to proceed with that extra drilling to be able to get the yield. And we reviewed everything with our consultant, and we felt it was worthwhile to do that. It did yield more water going deeper.
And so, as I understand it, we will be filling at nighttime tanks that will then be used during the day
Pretty
to
much.
irrigate, is that
Well,
the
no,
story?
they'll be irrigating at night.
They'll be
primarily.
irrigating at night.
Right, they'll be filling basically during the night and during the day. It'll be a slow refill on the tanks.
What are they gonna have for a tank?
What's that?
What are
What
they gonna have
size?
for a tank?
I think there are two 15,000-gallon tanks.
Yeah, they're very large tanks. They go right next to the irrigation building. They'll be getting delivered in a couple weeks. I think
Yeah.
April 27th is when they're getting delivered.
Big pill-shaped tanks.
And,
So also, we're supposed to do some fracking as part of the contract if we don't get the yield. And I talked to Jeff, he felt that we should frack the well that's closest to the baseball field, because the geology at that point seems to be more beneficial to getting a break or a crack in the bedrock that would yield more water, but that the other well, the geology there didn't seem to be preferable to doing that. And, that would be something, he said that we could say to the neighbor, that we're not gonna frack next to his well, and possibly open up a vein from his source, but he recommended only fracking one well, not the other. So we'll get a credit for the not fracking the second well.
and we won't need to fill these tanks every day, right?
It depends on how much you use for water. If it's rained, you won't be filling them at all because you won't be irrigating. In the wintertime, you won't fill them all because you won't be irrigating. In the summertime, if it's really, really hot and you don't have any rain, you may be filling them virtually every day because they're using all that water. Depending on the amount of, what the sensors sense as the amount of moisture in the soil is how much water they put on. So they average 1 inch of water over the week. But it could be that, if it's particularly dry and hot, it may be that they have to do 1.5 inches of water that week. Or if it's not, it's chilly and it's a little bit drizzly or rainy, then they may have to do 0.5 inch of water that week. So it really depends on the conditions, but the thought is the average would be 1 inch of water over the entire field a week.
Okay. So then are you ready to talk about the pretty pictures?
Yeah, do you want to hear about the change order, or just we'll save that for?
We can't vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have
And
to repeat
it's
it
just,
anyway.
it's an accumulation of other things on the log that we've already heard about, but.
Correct, yep.
I don't think we should take any time to do that.
All the work has already been completed, so it was completed this week, so we'll just have to follow up on the approval at a later date.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to the mayor about how we can get the bills paid.
Okay.
Well, the mayor should be able to pay, we should be able to get approval for the invoices, but I'm not sure about the change order. That would be the only thing we might have to hold down.
Well, I'm sure that the auditor will have an opinion and will do whatever she says.
Yes, you are 100% right.
And Jeanette, would you take the lead in emailing the mayor tomorrow morning and letting her know that we did not have a quorum and we need to consult as to how we can get the bills paid?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Are you up, Ally?
I'm ready. All right. So as you can see, NCI has continued bringing in fill, taking out some spots.
Keep your voice up. Some of old people up here can't hear.
So continuing grading for the athletic fields. They have been adding in some curb for the south parking lots down here. On the L building, the masonry has been completed, the roof was added, MEP connections continue to be installed, and connections into the irrigation system have begun. Like Joe and Corey were saying, the test wells have continued, and then next week we should be doing all the flow testing, as they were saying. The fence enclosure at the maintenance addition, that work has progressed. Fencing will be going up in the upcoming weeks. Loam and crushed stone has been added into the islands, and hydro seeding will take place, I think in April, late April, early
They should
May.
be higher seeing this
This
week.
week. And then, as you guys were talking about earlier, the Rotary began yesterday, and that will continue on until the summer. And then inside the building, this week we were finishing up a bunch of punch list items, including the utility trusses and the third floor science labs, some miscellaneous hardware that was changed throughout the building, and then some like paint touch up and small things like that. As far as the punch list, we're down to about 67 open items throughout the whole building, and hopefully by the end of the week that number will be much lower. So.
Student attendance system, what's the update on that?
They're all built and ready to be implemented. We are finalizing some bugs with the programming. So the specified manufacturer, Teleris, our understanding was that they had already done some integration with the Avigilon system previously, and there was already programming complete, but that was not the case. So we had to do custom programming in order for the Teleris system to talk with the Avigilon system. And there was a lot of bugs and issues that came up with that. We are still, like I said, there's still a couple bugs that they're trying to work out. But the plan is to have that ready to go within next couple of weeks, and then we can do some testing with the school. Their plan is to, once the seniors leave, they will issue cards to the freshmen, sophomore, and juniors for use for next year, but they can at least get used to using the system at the end of this year.
Okay. Ally, if you could pull back a little bit, one of the things when Corey and I were talking to the city council was that you can now see where certain things are going to be. So next to the football stadium, that brown area, that's a baseball field?
Mm-hmm. And soccer.
So the home plate will be like roughly in here somewhere,
Yeah.
the backstop. So the outfield goes this way, and then there's across the outfield is the soccer field. And we're about 150 feet away from the stadium to protect any spectators from foul balls. There's also ball netting system similar to at the Drummond Fields that is going along that fencing.
And then the gray area is the new bushy lot?
Yep. So a little different orientation. The old bushy lot was kind of horizontal here. So it's rotated slightly, still has the connection to Bushy Street, kind of extends the road slightly and then transitions to the parking lot. And then these gray spots here are the tennis courts. So there's 3, 2, 1, and 2 for a total of 8. And then eventually there'll be a basketball court here, which we haven't started yet, just for access purposes. But the plan is to pave all that gray area with binder coat in early May. And then finish coats would go in the summer. And then as I talked about yesterday, at the tennis courts, the court surfacer, the finish paint that goes on the tennis courts, they bumped us a month in their schedule, so they won't be starting until the end of August. So those tennis courts will not be available for use until the end of September. But all the fencing would be complete, all the hardscape will be complete, it's just the painting of the tennis courts would continue into September.
And
Now, what is going up at the top right?
there's a multi-purpose field and
Yep.
then a softball field?
Yeah, so horizontally here, there's a multi-purpose field, so like lacrosse, field hockey field, and then home plate for softball is like right around here, going out that way, with the overlapping soccer field in the outfield.
And we are expecting all of the paving to be done, give or take a few days with weather, by August 18th?
Yes, yep, so starting the last week of July, we will start taking over the parking lots, paving one at a time. We will also be milling down the Rathburn Willard and the connector, milling that down, doing some fine grading raising all the manholes and catch basins to the new finished elevation and repaving all that. Again, that would be the, first couple weeks in August. And then, the bus loop, so we had temporary asphalt in the actual teardrop of the bus loop. That gets all ripped up, and put down 8 inches of concrete. So that work will start as soon as teachers are out of the building. So June 26th-ish, we'll start that work. And we need all of the 8 weeks of the summer to get that ripped up and replaced with concrete. So we've communicated to Mark and the rest of the school and Kate, and any summer camps that back entrance, that back bus loop will not be available for any summer school, summer camps, anything like that. All traffic will come in through the front door, along Rathrum Road.
And the Rotary will be complete then for the same date,
The Rotary will be complete, yes, by August 18th. Yep.
including the decorative A in the middle?
Yes, hopefully. I don't have a ton of confidence in our signage sub, but yes. They are working on, they've been telling us they're sending us a sample for about 3 months.
It'll be here tomorrow.
So, yes, so we've heard that before.
So is that something that gets dropped in by a crane or something?
Yes, yeah, they'll build it off-site and they'll set it with a crane, yeah. So in the middle of the Rotary, and what we're starting now is there's like a 3-foot tall raised platform. It's a concrete wall with the fieldstone veneer, similar to the entrance signs and some of the low walls at the front entrance. So that will create like a 3-foot platform, and then the A will sit on top of that, and the A is 10 feet tall. So right in the middle of that will be your big blue A. You can kind of see the size of the circle. So we painted on, so there's this width of the circle is cobblestone, so that you can still kind of drive on it for any trucks or buses that might have a hard time making the turn. But it acts as like kind of a rumble strip to tell drivers to move over. From here in, there'll be raised curb with some landscaping, and then the inside of the circle is that 3-foot tall platform, and then the A.
So will there be a ceremony, like the topping off ceremony, when the A is
Sure,
installed?
we can have that.
What about
Okay.
the playground?
Yep, so the playground, so we're about at the temperatures required to start doing the rubber, so we are pushing our concrete subcontractor to pour the concrete sandbox. Once we can do that, we'll do all the finished grading and can start the rubber and the asphalt, the AstroTurf.
Will that be complete by the end of school, or?
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to complete it by the end of May, to give the preschools a little bit of time with the playground. But again, we're working with our concrete subcontractor to get that sandbox poured.
It's gotta be like torture. The little structures out there look like so much fun.
Yeah.
And every time I walk by, you just see these little faces, like, why can't we go out there? It's gonna be great.
My wife is friends with one of the preschool teachers, and she gets a lot of texts. When can we go on the playground? So we're working on it. We did install the sunshades today or the other day, but this is the sandbox right here. So it's about like a 2-foot deep, 3-foot concrete surround sandbox. And once we pour that, then we can start doing all the finished grading.
Is there fencing around there?
Yeah, you can see the black posts. That's the start of the fencing. We just have temp fence around that, but yes, that will get vinyl coated chain link fence.
So the kids can't wander into the
Yeah.
parking lot?
Yeah, and it separates, I think, this is like toddler and that's preschool, so there's also like a low fence inside here to separate the kids as well.
Okay.
How high is the outer fence?
6 feet, I believe, and the inner fence is 4 feet.
Hopefully 2-foot-tall children can't get over the 6 feet.
No razor wire.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, this week, we've been doing a lot of the fertilizer and slice seeding on the lawns that were planted last summer and fall. So, you know, as they look pretty good, but we're gonna be, you know, filling any dead spots, making sure it's coming in even better. And that's similar to what we'll be doing next spring for the athletic fields. So this fall, we'll be planting the grass and the athletic sod at the athletic fields. But we'll have to come back in the spring to do fertilizer, slice seeding, anything that we need to fully establish the lawn and get acceptance from KBA. So those fields will not be in use for the 2024 spring sports season. So they'll be ready for the fall of 24.
It struck me when we were in front of the city council last night that we have now basically completed 4 years of construction. We're in year 5. And time flies when you're having fun. But it is a 472,000 square foot building and a $260 million price tag, so Rome wasn't built in a day.
That is true.
So any other questions from anybody? Then I think we have come to the end of our informational presentation. I'll ask Jason, are you happy?
Very much so, yes. Great building.
And
Minus all the attic stuff.
I learned about some new attic stock this week, in fact.
actually, I know
had
one
no
thing we
idea
can
what to
do.
with that.
Aunt Jeanette, in the event we had been able to pay bills,
Yes.
you have your monthly update. You want to talk about that?
Sure. Ally has it. She can bring up. So what was included with the requisition package submitted to the city for approval this month were invoices for Skanska for the $98,765, excuse me. Brings us to 84% of our contract work. KBA submitted $110,482, $109,000 was for their contract work, and then there were 2 other invoices submitted. One was for Samiota's for, I believe it was a Blue Pride Way, and the second one was a tiny invoice from the Irrigation Specialties. Consigli's invoice this month for their contract work was $911,157. That brings them to 95% complete with their contract work, and I believe the remaining 5% is largely the landscaper and the site contractor, and then there's just a few odds and ends that have to be billed out with all of the other trades. Their change orders billed this month were from change order 25 and change order 28. There are still, as you can see on the right hand, over in the yellow there's still some of the earlier change orders I wanted to talk to you about that still need to be billed out, like change order 5 and just these miscellaneous ones. We'll see if we can clean those up within the next month and get all of that taken care of. So the total of their invoice just for the work complete was the $956,070.31, and then there were 6 subcontractors whose retainage was reduced, and those are shown a little bit farther down, and that's H. Carr, General Woodworking, Lockheed, Walker, NEIS, and Ayotte and King, and I believe all of them are now down to 0, correct? And so that was a total of retainages paid to them was $25,885.97. So when you take into consideration the work that was completed, the retainage is paid, and then the retainage withheld for the work that was done. Overall, their amount certified was $942,983.47. It puts us at 94% complete in total for the entire project. And then the total invoices for the month were $1,152,230.
Okay. Any questions on that? She mentioned Samiotis. Joe, Gary Arazian had raised some questions on the bid that they gave to us.
Yeah, about the length.
Did you look at that?
I've sent in a couple of notes to Dan Fleming, the surveyor. I think he's on vacation this week. So I sent him another note this morning just to ping him to see if I get him a response, and I haven't gotten anything yet. So,
Just so everyone knows, we need to have the north-south connector accepted as a public way, and so they had prepared the plan for that, and, or are preparing the plan for that, so we can submit that to the city council for acceptance, and their bid looked like it didn't have the right numbers in it, and the city planner and I both looked at it. We asked Joe some questions, and so hopefully they'll be looking at that bid again, because it seemed high, and it seemed like they had far too much linear feet.
yeah,
So we'll pay attention to that.
yeah. That's not the same as what Anjanette was saying was billed.
No.
This time, that was for the Blue Pride Way, which is the driveway in the front.
Right.
That was the final payment for that, but this is a separate thing. for
Blue
the
Pride
connector
Way's
road.
already been accepted.
Yes,
This is to accept the street that we laid out that exists and everyone uses. Anybody have anything else they want to add? Anjanette, Mary Ann, Joe, Craig, Corey, Natalie?
Quiet.
All right, then I guess a motion is in order to adjourn at 6:03.
just missed the record, huh?
What?
You just missed the record. It was 5:59 last meeting.
Well, 4
minutes past the
I
record.
know that there are some people here who certainly want to get home and watch the Bruins, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We are adjourned.
You don't vote.
Autopilot.